listening to the Mark Bradford Alchemy for Life podcast.
Commitment is a scary word. Hey there. Commitment. Ooh, scary word. It is. It sounds so absolute, doesn't it? There's really only 3 things you need to know about getting something done. If you've listened to my podcast before, you know that this isn't the kind of thing I normally talk about. I'm really turned off by people who are coaches and motivational speakers and illuminaries, etc., who talk in terms like that, talk in absolutes, as if, here's the thing you need to do and everything will be wonderful. If you would just do that thing, well, obviously, if you would just do that thing, it would happen, but it's getting to the point where you do the thing. If you would just run on a treadmill for 2 hours a day, you'd lose a ton of weight. Right, but that's not going to happen. So, there really only are 3 things you need to know about getting something done. And it all stems around commitment. So let me tell you this. Whatever you commit to happens. That's another way of saying what you hear other people say. It's another form of, whatever you put your energy into is going to happen, da-da-da-da-da. Right. You may be committed to things you're already aware of. Think about that one. We commit to things in our lives all the time, sometimes by default. And the results of commitment are going to vary, meaning you and another person can do the same thing and have different results. You can do exactly the same thing for the same amount of time and have different results. If somebody said, Mark, sit down and paint still life for an hour a day, and someone else sat down and painted still life for an hour a day, they may have much better results than me. Yes, I'm going to improve. Yes, I may not enjoy it because I'll look at how badly I'm painting, but we're going to have different results. So none of the things I just told you are absolutes. They're kind of variable, and they can be kind of frustrating. So let me expand on these points. You may already be committed to things, and you most certainly are. You became committed to these things because of an obligation, or a fear, or seeking pleasure, etc. And for the last one, stop giggling. What I'm talking about is it's just kind of enjoyable. Like you actually committed to cooking more than you thought you were. So you eat out less. And even though you're one person or whatever, you actually cook a lot more than you expected to because you found, wow, it's kind of fun. So you kind of committed to it. And by committing to cooking, you committed to shopping. And by committed to shopping, you're committing to all the time it takes to shop and plan meals and so forth. Do you see how that all starts to pile up just because you enjoyed cooking? And you see how a commitment can suddenly suck your time, energy, and resources? You knew I was going to say it. The results of your commitment will, of course, vary. And that means you shouldn't think that as long as you commit to something, it'll happen 100%. It's going to be based on your skill, like the painting example I gave you, and the energy and the desire. You may commit to a certain amount of time and energy to something, but if your heart's just not in it, it's just not going to happen. It's just like the people that you think suck at something and they just keep hammering at it, and suddenly one day you're like, wow, you don't suck at it anymore. And that overnight success took 10 years. So what I'm saying is, if you commit to something, truly commit to it. And if it doesn't happen exactly the way you expected it, it doesn't mean what I'm saying is wrong. It means results may vary. And as proof of that, you can take a look at what you're committed to, which again, of course, is what the balance sheet does. And if you haven't filled it out, you probably should. Right on the Alchemy for Life site. It doesn't cost anything. It's a simple 5-column sheet. It's kind of nice. And addressing the point about already being committed to things, if you examine this, you'll find that certain things get done even though they're things you don't really want to get done. What I'm saying, oddly, is that you have a commitment to bad stuff. There, I said it. You're committed to certain bad things in your life. For one reason or another. Did you ever think that you may be overweight not because you're having trouble losing it, but because you're so committed to the thing that causes it? That sounds crazy, doesn't it? But it's true. Think about your commitment. I'm so choked up by thinking about food. I can't even talk. Think about your commitment to flavor and flavors and eating and enjoying your meal and just having your own private time of having that awesome dinner or that awesome snack or the fact that you absolutely love ice cream and seek it out. That's commitment. And byproduct of that commitment is a lot of extra weight and an inability to lose it. Just for kicks, let's apply that same perspective to dating. If you always seem to end up with the same guys that drive you crazy, it's probably because your commitment to something which produces these guys. Again, tangibly, I'm talking about an actual commitment, not a vibration thing and a magic secret thing. I'm talking about an actual mental commitment that you've made. I know I use this one to death, but a commitment to tall guys will get you tall guys. If a lot of them happen to be jerks because you weren't committed to finding a nice guy, you may be confused as to why you keep picking a lot of jerks. It's because they are all tall jerks. Not to say that there aren't any really nice tall guys, but you get the point. You weren't choosing based on the thing that you thought you desired. You were choosing based on the thing that you committed to, which was, I need to get a tall guy. And then everything else was secondary, and the secondary stuff is the stuff that you're judging them on. So what do? Well, you can review your commitments before you make a new one. This gets back to the New Year's resolutions thing, which of course gets back to the balance sheet, which gets back to where you're putting your time, energy, and resources first before you decide to commit to something else. If you don't have the time for it, it's not going to happen. If you don't have the energy for it, it's not going to happen. If the thing you want to do has some sort of cost involved, and most things do, and you don't have the resources for it, it's not going to happen. So, if there's a bad thing happening in your life, review your commitments to see if you're committed to something that's causing it. The answer, almost exclusively to the question, oh why does this happen to me, is because you're committed to something that's causing it. Please don't get mad. Please don't roll your eyes. And please don't think that I'm thinking that life is all about do A, you get B, do A, you get B, do A, you get B. Cause and effect, cause and effect. That's the vast majority of life. There is something called luck, or lack thereof. There's also a randomness that happens. There are also lots of wonderfully selfish people in the world, and their actions also cause kind of sucky things to happen. So if something sucky had happened to you, or has happened a couple times, it may not necessarily be because you committed to creating this sucky environment for yourself. I'm just saying we do have a lot of control over things. Getting back in the driver's seat and taking a step back and going, what am I committed to, can help tremendously. So that was a little bit of a rambling, so let me get back to that in a nutshell. Review the commitments that you already have to see if you're committing to something that kind of sucks. If you want a good thing to happen and you want to commit to that, see how much time, energy, and resources you have to create that commitment. And again, the easiest way to do this visually is just go fill out the balance sheet that's on Alchemy for Life. Just fill out the sheet, it's 5 columns, and just filling out the sheet, you can go, well, yeah, I knew that, but did you? Did you? Or did you need to see it on paper in your face? Because this is a sheet telling you what you wrote down. This is not somebody judging you and saying, well, you know, Doris, if you would just spend more time. That's not what this is. This is you. You just wrote it down, and you're going to be as honest as you want. And you may surprise yourself and go, oh, yeah, that's right. And like I've said, I've told the story. When I describe the sheet to people, I've literally seen their eyes light up and go, oh, yeah, just because they get the concept. So, I hope this was helpful. I hope you get what commitment is now in a nutshell. I really do hope you fill out that sheet. And connected to filling out the sheet is you getting the email once a week to tell you about this cool podcast. And the cool thing about that is you actually get the article I wrote to go along with this, with probably a pretty picture. So thanks for listening as always. Maybe you should commit to listening. Hey there, thanks for listening. You know I always appreciate your feedback, right? Well, here's a chance. You can connect with me on Instagram, via the Alchemy for Life site, or most other social media. If you like this podcast, you may love my new book, Alchemy for Life: Formulas for Success. The 239-page paperback is available on Amazon and everywhere else you get your books. All this info is available at Alchemy for Life. Thank you. See you next week.